There's a very distinct approach to managing small timbered acre farms through TSI that you're going to want to listen and follow along with here on Landbeat. Guys, not every recreational property is massive, expansive, and has lots of timbered acres to be able to be managed. Sometimes it could be an 80 with 20 acres of timber, or it could be a 40-acre parcel and 30 acres is timber and the rest is tillable or CRP or whatever. We're not always dealing with massive expansive blocks, but that doesn't mean timber stand improvement is not important. It actually increases with importance if you're managing smaller acres, because you need it to be that more attractive, and you may not have that many more acres to be that attractive. So to consider the approach for a small acreage TSI, I'm most likely going to be swaying and favoring intense TSI for the purpose of two things. Again, we're talking to the whitetail hunter in mind who's owning that property, but it's harder to attract a logger or logging operation to come to small acreage. You have to have a lot of really good timber stacked in a small amount of acreage to warrant someone mobilizing, set up shop, mills, everything. It can happen, it does happen, but not as frequently or not as often. So sometimes the best use of that, depending on that species composition and market for logs, if it's chock full of walnuts, we're talking a different story. If it's chock full of big stave logs of white oak and whatnot, it's a different story here. But a lot of times that's not occurring on those small acreages in mixed ag land and whatnot. So we're talking to the guy who doesn't have a lot of timber value, needs to do TSI, just doesn't know what to do. The best thing that you can offer is cover. If you own a small acreage from a hunting strategy, I want to be cover. And so then therefore that leads us back into TSI. Be more aggressive than light. If cover's lacking in your area, you're surrounded by pasture or it's broken landscape and you're trying to make your wooded acres hold deer, don't go light on the TSI. Open up the canopy, get the sunlight in. Sure, you're going to need some bedding thickets in there, but the distinction of a bedding thicket, you know, and adjacent to a heavy TSI, for the first couple of years, you know, a decent while, it's not going to be that much distinguishable besides some hinge cuts, right? But if you're going to hold deer and be effective hunting it on small acreage, you need those deer close. You don't want to track them across pasture or track them across a bunch of ag land to try and harvest them on your place. You need to hold them. You be the sanctuary, you be the cover that they relate to. After they're done feeding in the morning, they come back to you, and before they go out to feed, they have to leave you, therefore making your opportunity to harvest them in daylight hours way higher, right? Create cover. Be intense with your timber stand improvement, but make sure you have some distinction. You can get in and out, right, and hunt the property still strategically, but consider most likely being more aggressive on timber stand on small acreage than being light on the timber stand improvement. Every situation's a little bit different, but generally that's what I'm going to push. If you're dealing with small acreage and you're dealing with a little bit of timber on that acreage. All right, so if I find myself in that boat and I know a logger's not coming and I don't have marketable timber, but I still may have large trees. Large trees don't mean marketable timber. The approach is then going to be girdle and spray those larger trees, kill them standing, because you don't have to cut a lot of those trees to put on the ground to create a lot of cover. But most people aren't comfortable enough to cut an 18-inch tree and put it on the ground safely. And if you're not, please don't, right? Be very safe with a chainsaw and felling trees. There's a lot of danger there. If you know what you're doing, it's fine. But if you don't, just simply girdle that tree, let it die standing, and then work on the medium to smaller DBH trees, like this hickory. Most people would fell this hickory and have not a problem in directionally felling it and putting it on the ground safely with the chainsaw. Focus on trees that you can put on the ground, that be and supply your cover in the understory, but you're letting sunlight in by addressing the large overstory trees with a simple girdle and spray, not completely clogging up the understory with those big canopies, big trunks that would lay there forever. Kill those standing, let them die, let the sunlight in through those, what would be canopies, but start dropping trees that you're comfortable. That's how I would approach that timber stand improvement on that small acreage timbered property.